Okay, hello Gators. By this time, you should have clicked the link for the packet, looked at the day one packet, shown your work on a piece of paper, or you may use this video as a chance for you to look at the different questions, pause before I go over the answers, and then learn from your mistakes. Okay, let's jump right into number 1. Which other expression has the same value as negative 14 minus negative 8? Well, we should know that when you see minus a negative, that's the same as adding a positive. So we can rewrite this expression as negative 14 plus 8. And if you wanted to look at the answer to that, well, when you have a positive number and a negative number and you're adding them together, you subtract the absolute value, so you ignore this negative. 14 minus 8 is 6. And then you look, which one has a bigger absolute value? The negative number or the positive number? Well, clearly the negative number, because negative 14 is farther away from 0 than 8. So our sum also must be negative. Looking at our answer choices, A clearly matches the expression that we wrote down, because subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So we can go ahead and circle A. That would equal negative 6. For B, well, here subtracting a negative would equal adding a positive. But the difference here is that the 14 is not negative. So it just becomes 14 plus 8, which is 22. That's not correct. For part C, well, we have a positive plus a negative. But in this case, the difference is that the positive number has a larger absolute value than the negative number. So we would get 6, but it wouldn't be a negative 6, because 14, which is positive, has a larger absolute value than negative 8. That one does not work. And this last one, a negative plus a negative, you just add the absolute values, which is 22. And then because they're both negative, it's negative 22. Okay, moving on to number 2. Which of the following shows negative 11 minus negative 1? Well, we already said that when you are subtracting a negative, it's the same as adding a positive. So we can rewrite this expression as negative 11 plus 1. And we should know that will equal negative 10. Okay, let's look to see which number line shows that we're going to negative 11 first. We always start from 0 when we are showing addition or subtraction on number line. It seems to me all these number lines show that we're going to negative 11, but this one does not show that we are starting at 0. We must start at 0 and then go to negative 11. And then now let's look to see out of A, B, and D, which one shows adding a 1. When we are subtracting or going to a negative number, we go to the left. But when we're adding a 1, we have to go to the right, because that's how we show addition, going to the right side. Well, this one seems to show going this way, that's adding 1. This one, going this way, actually shows subtracting 1. And this one does not show anything at all, just stops at negative 11, so that one's not correct. And then out of A and B, we're looking for which one shows adding 1. And we're also looking for where it shows an answer of negative 10. This one shows that the last line, it stops at negative 10. This one goes to negative 12. So we're looking for A here. For number 3, the distance between point Q and point P is 6.5 units. Which number could represent point Q? Okay, it doesn't say in what direction, but it just says that it's 6.5 units away. So let's go to the right 6.5 units and see what number we land at. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then a half would be right here. That's between 2 and 3. We should know that number is 2.5. Let's go the other way from P, because it could be the opposite way, and it could also have a distance of 6.5. So let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a half. That's between -9 and -10. That's -9 and a half. That shows that A could be one of the points for point Q, or C. B and D are not 6.5 units away. A way that you could represent this using an expression would be -4 plus 6 1/2 or -4 minus 6 1/2. Did I do that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I just can't count. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 1/2. -10 is actually right here. I'm silly. This is -11. So it's between those two numbers. That's -10 and half. Sorry, I can't read a number line. Oh, it's just C then. Because this one would be -10 and 1/2. This would be 2 and 1/2. So out of these two, our only option is C. Okay, number 4. The number line shows record low temperatures for 4 states. What is the difference in degrees between the record low temperatures in Hawaii and South Dakota? So we're looking to see, how far is this temperature from this temperature? You might see the word difference, think subtraction, and go, I can show that by doing 12 minus 58. But the problem is that you just found the difference between 12 and 58, not between 12 and -58. So if you want to represent using an expression, you can do 12 minus -58, and that becomes 12 plus 58, because minus a negative is the same as adding a positive, and you would get 70. A way that you can show this using the number line is comparing both of the numbers from 0. How far is 12 degrees Fahrenheit from 0? 12. How far is -58 degrees from 0? That's 58. So if you're looking to see, well, this is 58 away from 0, and this is 12 away from 0, how far away are they from each other? You would just add the absolute values of the temperatures, and that would give you 70. So the difference in degrees is 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, select one phrase that describes the sum or difference of each expression. Let us evaluate each expression and find out if they're greater than 0, less than 0, or equal to 0. 7 minus -7. We know that subtracting a negative is the same as adding a positive. So that becomes 7 plus 7, which is 14. Definitely greater than 0. Let's try this next one. 7 plus -7. That's like if I gave you $7 and I took away $7. That's just 0. So that's equal to 0. This next one, -7 plus -7. It's like if you took away $7 and took away $7 more dollars, it's like you took away a total of -14. That is less than 0. And then this expression are the same because subtraction is the same as adding a -7. So that's also -14, also less than 0. Okay. P and T are numbers, and P plus T equals 0. Select all the statements about P and T that could be true. Okay, P equals 0 and T equals 0. Could they add up to 0? Let's find out. 0 plus 0 equals 0. Is that true? Would you look at that? It is. That one works. Okay, let's look at this one. P equals 0 or T equals 0, but not both. Well, you know they have to add up to 0. So something plus something equals 0. And And it says one of them is 0, but not the second one. So could any other number go in this spot right here that's not 0 and have that be a true statement? Could we put 2? No, that would equal 2. Could we put -1? No, that would equal -1. The only option is for it to be 0. So nope, because that would mean both of them are 0. It says not both. What about this one? P can be any positive number and T can be any negative number. Well, let's find out. Excuse me. Positive number 5 plus a negative number -2 equals 0. No, that equals 3. Does not work for any positive or negative number. P and T are on opposite sides of 0 and equally distant from 0 on the number line. So let's look at what opposite sides means first. That means that if one's over here, let's call it T, one's over here, that means one's positive, one's negative. So let's do P plus T equals 0, and then let's make P the number 6. If P is positive and T has to be negative, it has to be equally distant from 0. What number has the same distance from 0 as 6, but is a negative number? If this right here was 6, that means there's a distance of 6. You're going to go 6 on the other side of 0. That would give you -6. So 6 plus -6 equals 0. Yes, that is correct. Okay. Last question of the day. What is the value of 3/4 minus 2/5 plus -5? Okay, first to do this, we have to have a common denominator. Let's make that out of 20 because that's the lowest common multiple of 4 and 5. We have to take this fraction, do times 5 to the numerator and denominator to get it to have a denominator of 20 because 4 times 5 is 20, 3 times 5 is 15. For this fraction, I have to do times 4 times 4. So that would be 8, then plus -5. You can combine those two, that becomes 7/20 plus -5. You might get stuck here. Well, when you have a positive number and a negative number, you subtract the absolute values and then worry about the sign at the end. Like if I said, 6 plus -17, you would subtract these two numbers. So let's subtract those two numbers, like the absolute value. Sorry, not the numbers themselves. So I would just do 5 minus 7/20. Can rewrite 5 as 4 and 20/20 because it's like you're splitting the 5 into 4 and 1. And then 1 is the same as 20/20. Minus 7/20, that's 4 and 13/20. And now we're thinking about the sign. Well, you should note for this example that the answer is going to be negative because -17 has a larger absolute value than 6. So you subtract the absolute value, which is when you ignore the negative, just 17 minus 6, you get 11, and then you put the negative sign at the end. In the same way here, well, we got 4 and 13/20, but because -5 has a greater absolute value, our sum must be negative. It's -4 and 13/20. After reviewing this assignment, ask me if you have any questions. Feel free to hop on the Zoom link, and then you can get started on your IXL assignment. Your usernames and passwords are on the Google Sheet all the way on the left side under where it says math. Please text or hop on Zoom if you have any questions.